So just a quick recap what we discussed the first 2 days. We saw the definition of AI with some real use cases, and then we saw the different types, the components of AI. So first was machine learning, then deep learning, and then cognitive computing. Then we also saw some examples where I can use ML and what are the scenarios where I can use AI and DL, and then scenarios where we can also use um cognitive computing. Then we saw the differences in between the different models. OK, so what are the three types of models that we saw? Yes, it is predictive model, decision model, and descriptive model. So predictive model is about doing regression prediction. Then decision model is about making a classification. And then descriptive model is about doing the clustering. Okay, then we also saw what is a model and how a typical model gets built by splitting the data, by first formatting the data and making it into from raw data into a processed data, then splitting the data into training and testing, and taking the bulk of the data into training, preferably in a 70-30 ratio, and then building the model using the training data, and then applying that model onto a sample which the model has not seen, which we call as a validation or a test data. And based on its results, we will evaluate depending upon whether it is a classification or a regression problem. And based on the results, we will run that couple of times till we get the best results. OK, so that is called as the evaluation. So we saw some examples last week and how the regression analysis is done, how the classification analysis is done based on the output. And we also saw how we can do the clusters on a record and how clusters are formed based on the optimum number of clusters that the model or the algorithm returns. OK, so this is where we stopped. Now we will come to the second part of AI, which is the core of this lecture, and that is the generative AI. Now, the difference between generative AI and the discriminative AI we saw in the first session, and that was discriminative AI is all about classifying a record into one or multiple categories, depending upon whether you're doing classification, multi-class or multi-label. But here we are going to talk about how data is generated, how data can be generated, what is the input, and what are the different ways in which we can do it. So this is where we will utilize, we'll understand what is the concept of Gen AI, and then we'll do some hands-on using the OpenAI platform, that is ChatGPT, and understand what are the different types of prompts and how results are obtained. So what is the definition of generative AI? So here I'm going to give two examples. So you can see the definition here. The generative AI is an AI tool or an AI system which can generate a text or an image or any other data file, which can be either an audio or a video, or it can be an image based on some response. And that response is called as a prompt. OK, so here the input is a prompt. So here the input is a prompt and the output is going to be, it can be a text or it can be an image or it can be any other media or any other file format. Now in this example, you can see that I'm giving a prompt which says give me a 100-word summary of Modi's visit to the US in 2023. Now understand what are the different components in it. So first is what is it that I want? So I want a summary. So this is my required output. Now what is the context? The context is the visit to the US, Modi's visit to the US. So this becomes the context. Then what is the condition? The condition is it should not be more than 100 words. OK, so this whole thing is the context. So I have a context. I have what I want as an output, and then I have a condition. So based on these three, my generative AI model is going to analyze my input, and then it is going to look for answers, and then it is going to generate this data, and this is what I get. And it is going to be matching the condition that I have given. What are they? 100 words. It is going to be a summary, and it is going to be the topic on which I want the answer. I'm sure most of you would have tried the chat GPT and you would have seen a similar kind of an output. OK, what you want, you give that as a prompt and then you get a reply. OK, so this is what generative AI is all about. This is just a definition. Now let us look at one more example. Now here I'm giving a prompt, similar kind of a prompt. And here the prompt is, I want a picture of a sunset along a beach. Now, what is the response? So here the response is going to be an image. So based on this, it is going to generate an image or maybe multiple images depending upon which tool you are using. Usually it is one image, but sometimes some platforms they provide more than one image. Okay, so there you can see how this image gets generated. Now, can you tell me what is the logic behind these kind of image generations? How does the system know that how to generate? Can you take a guess? What kind of logic is probably used to generate this kind of data, whether it is a textual data that you saw on the left hand side, or whether it is a picture that is on the right hand side? What do you think is happening behind the scene? So what kind of a network are we building here? What kind of a model do you think is running behind the scene? Correct. So it is a neural network. OK, it is not an ML model because the kind of data that is getting generated, it is, it has to take input from lots of things. OK, so the the network has to be a neural network. OK, so that is the first thing. Now, how does the system know that it has to get this information or this information? So how does the system know that I have to generate this information? How does the context get generated or extracted? Now, if you look at the prompt, they are all English prompts, or I can say it is text. Now, it can be in any language. It can be Tamil, it can be any other foreign language. It could be, anything. OK, so how does the system know that how it has to be extracted? Now, machines don't understand different languages. OK, so what is to be done? So all the inputs that we are providing, they get converted into numbers. Okay, it may not be binary. That is one option, but they are converted into numbers, which is known as the embedding. OK, now what is the term embedding? What does it do? Now let us take this example. Give me a 100-word summary of Modi's visit to the US in 2023. So what embedding does, it is going to take the first word. It is going to assign a number to it. OK, so let us say the number is 1. Me will get a value, let's say 2. Will get a value 3. So unique values. So here I have how many words? Let's say 15 words. So if assuming that all are unique words, so how many words will be there, or how many tokens will be there? There will be 15 tokens. So 15 tokens. So first token is give. Now, what is the meaning of the term embedding? Embedding means I want to find a meaning to this word called give. So that means every word will have a list of features. OK, so there could be, let's say, 200 features. Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it have a size? Can it be eaten? Can it be consumed? Is it a noun? So etc. etc. So there could be n number of features which we do not know. OK, that is why we use the embedding models which are given to us by different vendors. You can create your own model also. OK, so that is a choice that you have. But when you're creating these embeddings, you usually pick up any embedding model which is available with these vendors. Now, based on these embedding, you will create a vector of numbers like this. And then this vector is sent to the query. And what you get as a reply is based on the similarity of the vector with the answer vector. So here you have a question vector. And then you have the answer vector somewhere here. So whatever query that you send, there is a match done and all the similar records are matched and that is returned as the answer. OK, so it is matching the values or matching the vector of the query with the response. So how many are matching closely will be the best responses. So that is how you get these answers. OK, so there are lots of deep neural network which is behind the scene. That is how it is worked. So we'll discuss about those some of the models as we get along. So this is just a background that how things work. OK, so prompt is just not an English word or a text. It is converting it into a number and the matrix is sent as an input and that is how you get the results. OK. OK, so let's move ahead and see what are the different aspects of GenAI. So how GenAI works? So it works based on the input and it learns from existing data. So all the artifacts that gets created is based on data on which the model was built. Now, if you recall what we discussed on Friday, that there is a model which is trained on some data. So here we have the model. So model was trained on some data. And when you make a query, so it reads this information and then it predicts the output. OK, so something similar happens here. Here there is no prediction, but it is only generating the data. OK, so we cannot say that data generation is a model prediction. Here the model generation is based on the similar principle, how the data was built, how the model was built on existing data. And that is known as a foundation model. So foundation model means that I am building a model which is built on a large corpus of text. Now, why the data is based on text? Because I am generating the data and I am not getting any predictions. OK, I want to generate new topics. I want to summarize a document. I want to get some answers for a question. So for such kind of a data, my input has to be in form of a text. So I am going to take a huge corpus of data, which is going to be my input text. And on this, I'm going to build this model. So these models are known as foundation models. So I can use n number of foundation models. We'll discuss this in some time. So a lot of providers are there who give you these models. So models can cater to small data. It can cater to big data. It can cater to very large data. So there are different types of models, different kinds of models for different purposes. So you can download any one of these models and then use that as a standard model. And then you can customize those models for your specific requirements. So that is why they are known as the foundation models. So starting point for development. So if you want to build some more extra stuff on top of that, you can do it. OK, so these are pre-trained. So that means you need not train that model again. You can simply download it. It is already done for you. You can customize that particular model by tweaking a couple of parameters. That is why it is known as a foundation model, which can be used for later use. Thank you, everyone.